When the hustle and bustle of life gets to be too much, there's nothing like escaping to a remote hideaway for a little R&R.
Yeah, I saw a sign in the window of a real estate office that said island for sale.
To be out here, to experience this, I think it's totally worth it.
There are a lot of reasons to love living here. It's very quiet, it's peaceful.
This is just the private retreat and just what we need.
Whether it's a dude ranch, a house in the treetops, a private island, or an Alaskan adventure.
We've had a lot of people write in their guest books how it saved their marriage.
These are the keepers of the ultimate private escapes.
And that's what a lot of people need. A little bit of peace and a little bit of quiet.
On Ultimate Homes, Escape. Many people's ideas of getting away from it all involve sipping frozen daiquiris on a tropical island. But others won't settle for that. They're looking for a more permanent adventure, one to last a lifetime. And they're willing to cross oceans, vast canyons, and frozen frontiers to make their ultimate escape a reality. On the bay side of the Florida Keys, just west of Marathon, is a 10-acre private island paradise only accessible by boat. And this is the island's greatest escape, a 1,500 square foot cypress fishing cottage with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a giant outdoor kitchen, and miles of private beachfront. When financier Jim Davidson and his wife Deborah bought the island, they named it Seabird Key after their thousands of avian neighbors.
I've always wanted to own an island since I was a kid. My wife and I were down in Key West in 1982, first time for both of us, and unfortunately, I saw a sign in the window of a real estate office that said island for sale.
It was not on my bucket list to own an island.
Looked at that one, wasn't just right. Looked at another 80 islands in the Caribbean and the Bahamas.
He wasn't dreaming, he was very serious. It was just a matter of finding the right island.
But the island didn't always look this pristine. When the couple bought it, it was uninhabited and overgrown with prickly plants.
We needed to hack trails through the island to be able to go from one end to another and try to figure out where we eventually wanted a house.
They spent 3 long years of weekends away from their New York apartment. But finally, their work was done.
Jim and I together would get our machetes and hack through these briars and cactus.
Usually when I set out to do something, I finish it. Just got there by sheer determination and figure out a way to do it and push on.
With all the old vegetation gone, they dug into some heavy-duty planting.
He was dedicated to the idea of putting a lot of flowering plants and a lot of beautiful native palms as well as exotic palms from all over the world.
Now we have over 50 species of palms and a lot of flowering bushes and trees and some mango and orange trees, grapefruit, limes.
It was an exhausting task, but it paled in comparison to the actual build when it got underway. Jim and Deborah started with plans for a small fishing cottage with a dream of building a second larger house nearby.
The construction of this was more time and considerably more expense than we planned on. We had to drill holes for the foundations. We had to have an elevation of the house of 15 feet for flood protection.
Every step presented a hoop to jump through, starting with materials.
We hired a barge. Every material had to come out by the barge.
Traditional construction and earth-moving equipment was way too heavy for the sandy island ground. So the whole house had to be built by hand.
Oh my goodness, if you can imagine that these men did this without the help of any heavy equipment. It was all done with pulleys and ropes and by the sheer strength of the builder.
As soon as they started on the fishing cottage, they could feel their plans for the larger house going straight out the window.
We wanted to build the home on the island to look like it had been here 100 years. We didn't want to disturb anything about the natural look of the island. It was not ever our vision to come in and just bulldoze and build some monstrosity. So we built a very modest style home in the style of the Florida Keys.
And it's the perfect mix of the couple's taste.
So our compromise was just a few girly touches, but mainly this house was meant to be a fishing cottage.
The entire house, including the ceiling beams, is made of reclaimed wood impervious to rot.
It's made of tanked cypress, which was brought in from the Swanee River. And the wood was tanked for about 100 years down at the bottom of the river.
Upstairs is a cozy place for a nap after a relaxing day at the beach.
The second floor of the house was designed to be what we call the bunk loft. 4 kids can sleep up here, and we have another little sleeping area over here. I can glance down at all the features of the living room.
To get the best view in the house, you have to head to the highest peak.
This Widow's Walk is 35 feet up in the air, which is one of the highest places in the Florida Keys. From this spot, you can pan around and look at the entire beautiful view of the Gulf of Mexico.
The day the house was officially done, the couple received some life-changing news.
The day we got the certificate of occupancy on this house, we discovered that we were having a child. We added the bunk loft to accommodate kids.
Today, their grandchildren run around the place.
The kids especially enjoy this little walkway. They like to pretend that they're in a Swiss Family Robinson movie.
Living here means living off the grid. So they had to conserve resources. Temperatures often soar above 90 degrees in the summer months, but high ceilings allow the warm air to rise. Open one of the many windows, and it cools the house enough to ditch the AC. Solar panels on the roof collect energy from the sun and store it in 16 batteries that weigh more than 300 pounds apiece.
We are 100% self-sufficient. And that's kind of a cool thing to say that you are 100% off the grid. When the kids and grandchildren are here, someone is always water skiing or being pulled on the towing tube or out fishing in the boat or fishing off the dock, enjoying the Hobie Cat going out for a little sail, or maybe even kayaking around the entire island. As all of that activity is going on, there is always someone sound asleep in the hammock.
For a bit of exercise after a big island meal, there's a walkway to stroll through a sea of mangrove trees. Jim and Deborah's property manager built the entire thing by hand.
It's a peaceful place to be, and people enjoy getting a sense of the Florida Keys ecology. So it's a really important part of the island to show and have people learn to appreciate what a mangrove forest is really like.
The Davidsons bought an island of tangled mangroves, rocks, and seaweed, but they transformed it into a tropical paradise.
He said this is going to be a perfect beach. He could already envision the palm trees, he could envision the hammocks, he could envision every part of that.
This ultimate beach escape is one of the best-kept secrets in the Florida Keys. Jim and Deborah dreamed of owning their own private getaway, and it finally came true.
This island and the home on the island and the whole experience is just something that Jim and I are so blessed to be a part of, and we feel like we have been given the job as caretaker of paradise.
Morris, Connecticut, about 50 miles west of Hartford, is home to the exclusive Winvian Resort. 18 luxury cottages sit on 113 rolling acres in the Litchfield Hills. And every one of them was designed to provide an ultimate escape. It has been in Maggie Smith's family for generations.
Well, the property was originally purchased by my children's paternal grandparents back in the late 1940s, and their first names were joined together to create Winvian. They were Winthrop and Vivian Smith.
When Maggie inherited the estate, only the family vacation home existed.
There was the beautiful Seth Bird home that was the centerpiece of the property, and a couple of barns. That was really all that was here.
It took them a while to figure out exactly what they wanted to do with the place.
It was in 2003 that my oldest daughter, Heather, and I came up with an idea as to what might be done with this magnificent property.
They transformed it from a working farm into a destination resort with 18 individual guest cottages. Each represents some aspect of Connecticut. More than 24 architects submitted designs.
Each architect came up with the idea for the cottage, and we explained what the parameters were as far as the amenities that we wanted in each cottage. We ended up selecting 15 different architects who designed the 18 individual standalone cottages.
But with so many different plans, personalities, and styles, construction quickly became a huge headache.
In all honesty, there were a number of moments during construction that I wondered if I had lost my mind. I would say the most challenging part of the entire build, which took almost 4 years, was the fact that we had 15 different architects, yet only one general contractor. And the enormity of the task of keeping tabs on all 15 architects and 24 different buildings being constructed basically at the same time turned out to be quite an onerous task.
This is the Woodlands Cottage, one of the biggest of the 18.
As you can see, this is a fairly large cottage, and the architect's intent was to use a large amount of space, but make it feel very warm and cozy and welcoming. When you're in here looking out these magnificent windows, you're not entirely sure whether you're actually inside or outside. You feel very much like you're part of the bordering woods that surround us.
The architect used unfinished logs to give the place a rustic, organic feel. All of the wood and stone is from the grounds of the resort, and even the chimney is made from a hollow tree trunk.
The two sinks are carved from tree trunks, and they're very unique looking. The walls in the shower are actually made from riverbeds, and the sunken jacuzzi is situated in front of a beautiful plate glass window and looks directly out into the woods.
And this is the smallest cottage. 780 square feet perched 35 feet up in the air. It's tiny, but it makes a big impression.
The entryway, as you can see, is full of oddly shaped and placed wood, but it's very reminiscent of the way a typical treehouse would look.
The architect got playful with some of the interior angles and features.
There's no question that there was a touch of whimsy when the treehouse cottage was being designed. And what I love about it are the bright colors that we used and the materials that were used by the architect that are mostly green. Recycled materials. Imagine as a kid that this is actually your treehouse and this is your bedroom. One of the things that I love about it are the angled walls and the fact that the ceiling is actually canopy.
This cottage may look like an ordinary country barn, but there's an amazing artifact inside.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
In Morris, Connecticut, sitting on 113 hilly acres is a traveler's escape. The resort is built for rest and relaxation, but it's anything but traditional. That's just what owner Maggie Smith was going for when she chose 15 different architects to build 18 themed cottages on her property. This one even has its own chopper.
We're here in the helicopter cottage, which houses a U.S. Coast Guard Sea King Pelican rescue craft. Inside the refurbished fuselage is the sitting area with the bar and the television set. The cottage was actually designed to look and feel like a hangar, and it incorporates the sleeping quarters, the bathroom area, and the sitting area that has also a wood-burning stove in it.
Even with the chopper's engines removed, the fuselage still weighed almost 17,000 pounds. So they had to get it here in stages.
The Sea King helicopter was actually found out in Arizona in the helicopter graveyard, transported back across the country to Canaan, Connecticut, where it was completely refurbished, delivered here when the cottage was mostly built, and it was fitted in to the area where it's standing. The blades were cut up into the ceiling, and then the back of the cottage was put on.
It took almost a year to complete, but the helicopter cottage is always a hit with guests.
It was absolutely 100% totally worth it.
In a place where beavers abound, it was only fitting to dedicate at least one cottage to the critters.
We're here in the very cozy Beaver Lodge, which was constructed to mimic the world in which beavers live, full of trees and stone.
The canopy's wood is from a real beaver's den.
The beaver dam was actually located across the street, and it was deconstructed, brought over to the cottage, and rebuilt above the king-size bed. We're here in the beaver bathroom, which mimics a beaver pond. We have a tree, and we also have the water that cascades down from the ceiling to fill the bathtub.
This amazing resort is the ultimate escape in Morris, Connecticut.
I'm very proud of Winvian Farm. One of the most unique things that we offer is the ability to absolutely get away from all the craziness of life, really and truly, totally relax and take care of yourself.
Just south of the Bighorn Mountain Range in Ten Sleep, Wyoming, is a Wild West getaway. Bob and Lawrence Kaplan bought the ranch in 2001, then spent the next 6 years turning it into their dream home. With 27,000 secluded acres, elevations up to 8,300 feet, and cattle galore, it's the ultimate cowboy escape.
The landscape is 5 or 6 different landscapes, from the desert on the western low end of the airport to the aspen forest and ponderosa pine forest on the upper ranch, red canyons here, limestone, sandstone, white canyons on the upper mountain.
In 2007, they opened the ranch doors to the public to share their western retreat with the world.
Actually, we never bought the ranch to make it into a guest ranch. It was kind of our retirement escape and retreat. I said to Lawrence one day, I think we could do this as a business together. It would be a fun adventure. And so that's how we really started.
The couple lives in the 8,000 square foot main lodge, while guests stay in one of 4 luxury chalets, ranging from 1,400 to 2,000 square feet.
Our goal has always been to exceed expectations. Our goal is to create delightful surprises for our guests.
There are plenty of trails to walk, cows to pen, and horses to ride. And for those not feeling the cowboy vibe, there's rock climbing, zip lining, and skeet shooting. But before anyone mounts a spirited 1,000-pound beast, their skills are assessed by the operations manager.
We have one of the only indoor arenas in Wyoming, and I believe maybe the only one at a guest ranch. Before we do any trail rides outside, that's where we'll start, is on the indoor arena. We also do lots of activities in there, from barrel racing, team pinning.
There's even a place to prepare for a full-on gunfight.
We have a full shooting range. The shooting range is always supervised. It has pistols and rifles and shotgun. It also has archery.
So that's how it's done.
There's so many activities here that we like to keep people busy for a week, and at the end of the week feel like they haven't done everything.
At the end of the day, guests are invited to the main house to kick up their heels.
This is the great room where we invite guests to come before dinner, sit in front of the fire, have a glass of wine, relax, visit about their horse ride or the activities that they enjoyed through the day. One of the things I really enjoy about the great room is that all 3 of the large picture windows go down into the floor. It makes the room literally twice as big, but brings the outside in.
The ranch boasts 33 separate cabins and attractions, which all had to be built in the middle of nowhere, and the closest building supplies were nearly 50 miles away. But all the effort was worth it. Today, the ranch runs without a hitch. 10 Sleep, Wyoming is home to the ultimate Wild West escape, the Red Rifle Ranch.
I think Wyoming is where you can be a cowboy, and the ranch helps you to be that cowboy.
Bob and Lawrence Kaplan own the sprawling 27,000 acres and live in the main house. There are 4 chalets for guests, and their favorite is called the Panorama.
The chalet features a variety of amenities, a full kitchen, a steam shower, private hot tub, washer-dryer with supplies, satellite TV. But I think best of all, it has beautiful views of the mountain ranges in every direction.
The main house has more than a few grand features of its own.
We have 200 wines to choose from. They're from all over the world. I try to get the very best wines that I can find.
So when we're not outside enjoying the beautiful views, we are here in the sunroom, which is also known as our sunset room. We use it very often as a sunset dinner room.
We're at the lower level of the lodge in our 12-seat theater. It's a surround sound theater. If the weather is a challenge, we'll come down here and watch TV.
The couple had absolutely zero ranching experience when they first bought the property, so they were totally out of their element. Nearly 15 years later, they're both master ranchers.
It's a beef cattle ranch, and these are the mature mother cows.
Going to the grocery store is a trip because it is an 80-mile return trip.
And when you get to the store, frankly, it's disappointing because it's quite a bit smaller than the stores we're used to, and the selection is limited.
We do compensate that by growing some of our own vegetables, having our own wild game, as well as Angus beef. It was one of my projects to grow an organic garden and have chickens so that we could be at least partly self-sustainable. We cannot grow anything outside until the 1st of June, so we use our greenhouse to do all of our little starter plants and then transplant in June and hopefully have an abundant crop by late July.
When Bob and Lawrence took the plunge on 27,000 acres to build a cattle ranch, they did it to change their lives. They couldn't be happier, living the ultimate escape every day in Wyoming.
There are a lot of reasons to love living here. It's very quiet, it's peaceful, the changes in season are dramatic, and that's one of the things that makes it special.
60 miles north of the Arctic Circle in the dense Alaskan wilderness is the ultimate winter escape, the Innuacook Lake Lodge. It's 220 miles from civilization, and temperatures can plummet to 70 degrees below freezing. But owner John Gadicke is used to it. He's lived and worked here most of his life.
I think it's totally worth it to live this lifestyle, to be out here, to experience this. I know how lucky I am.
John's parents bought the property back in 1974. 5 remote acres with no roads and no utilities. The newlyweds just wanted to start their lives together.
Parents snowshoed out here on their honeymoon to just a blank spot on the map and started cutting logs for the place. They cut 200 logs during their honeymoon, stacked them in the woods, and then started to build this place that summer. So we've been over here just over 40 years.
The main lodge is 1,500 square feet with 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a full kitchen, and a communal dining room. There's also a 1,000 square foot guest house, a greenhouse, sauna, and tool shop. The main lodge was built with locally felled logs, floated across the lake 10 at a time. Then they were interlocked using a saddled notch system called Swedish cope to create strong, insulated walls. Each log has a notch cut into its underside, which allows it to sit snugly on the log below.
And if you do it properly, like right here, that fit is nice and tight. You shouldn't be able to stick a butter knife in between the cracks. And in an earthquake, which we have a lot of in Alaska, the whole thing can shake and flex and not come apart. It can handle 70 below, it can handle 100 above, and so it's kind of a living, breathing thing.
The lodge is also reinforced with steel dowels, so it can withstand just about anything that comes its way. But it took an incredible amount of manpower to get there.
Each log that you see on a log cabin represents 20 to 25 hours. That's cutting it down with a chainsaw, taking the limbs off, stacking it, hauling it to the job site, peeling off the bark, building a crane to lift it up into place.
About 50 logs make up the guest suite. That's more than 1,250 hours of labor.
This picture here shows the construction of the building as it happened in the summer of 1974. You can see one guy here is operating a hand-built crane. It's attached to a tree that was just growing on the edge of the property, and there's another builder up here who's getting ready to catch the log as it's raised into place. I really like living in a log cabin because it has so much character to it. I mean, at night when you lay there and look up at the ceiling, you can see all the chainsaw marks. You look across at the logs and the knots have different faces in them, and there's so much character that you just don't get from a piece of drywall or a painted wall.
One unusual tree stuck out from the rest and became more than a centerpiece in the main room.
Main support member here is a burl, which is a sickness in the local spruce trees. It's not so much a lack of growth as an overgrowth in the spruce. And so this is a good solid tree still, and it supports the main joist of the house and all these floor joists.
John's parents weren't qualified to handle the trickier parts of the build, so some things they left to the experts.
Building with logs is difficult because it's such organic material. So each stair had to be fit into place individually, and each tread is from a log that was ripped in half with a chainsaw.
The crew could only work during the short Arctic summer, so it took a couple years to complete construction. Everything from nails and hinges to furniture and appliances had to be flown in by bush or cargo plane. Even today, John gets supplies air delivered once every 7 to 10 days. Getting to Innuakuk Lake Lodge as a guest is also an adventure. There's not a road in sight for 100 miles in any direction, so the only option is a bush plane. Then, a long, freezing ride on the back of a snowmobile. "220 miles north of Fairbanks, Alaska, is the Innuakuk Lake Lodge, where guests come to snowshoe, ice fish, dog sled, or just relax and enjoy the scenery by a warm fire. The only way to get here is by air and snowmobile. But it's worth it to experience the ultimate winter escape.
Our clients are looking for this Alaska that they dreamed of, which is a log cabin in the middle of nowhere on the edge of a lake with mountains all around and no cars, no other people. We're real lucky to be where we are with luxury accommodations as well as luxury wilderness. It's really pristine and clean up here.
Visitors stay in the 1,000 square foot Aurora guest suite, not far from the main house.
We have 2 bedrooms downstairs here and an attached bath. There's a room on either side and then the bathroom with hot and cold running water. And both bedrooms have a really nice view of the lake.
And the upstairs is perfectly arranged for lounging and watching wildlife wander by, like caribou, bears, and wolves.
All this was flown in on big planes that landed out on the ice here and brought in all this upstairs lumber and then the big windows and with the view to the outside. So it's a really nice space to relax in.
Back in the main lodge is where John prepares all the meals.
One of the big things about Innuakuk Lodge is the cooking. So everything comes out of this kitchen, fresh bread comes out of here, and a lot of people just don't eat good home cooking anymore. That's important, that we can sit at the table and talk during meals without a TV on and without a bunch of distractions, how it used to be and how we do it all the time here.
Sometimes, rogue wild animals decide to investigate the goods.
We did have a break-in one time from a bear. He broke this rear window. When we leave, we put boards with nails sticking out on the outside. Despite that, he was able to rip the board off and smash through the glass and clawed his way in here.
John's parents had a diesel generator, but it was loud and needed daily maintenance. So John's mom came up with a new source.
We've had solar power here since 1993. Back then, the technology was pretty young. We got them installed and spent about the same amount of money that we would have spent in 3 years on diesel fuel. Be able to shut off that diesel generator, not have to wrench on it, not have to listen to it is really nice. And so we've been running solar power just over 20 years now, and it's really worked out well for us.
John's parents started building their dream home during their honeymoon and eventually passed it on to their son, who's not only enjoying his ultimate lodge escape, he's sharing it with the rest of the world.
There aren't many people living this lifestyle. Just the care and craftsmanship, it stood up for 40 years, and hopefully I'd like to see it go another 40 or 50 through my lifetime and maybe on to the next generation.
"180 miles from Little Rock, Arkansas, in the heart of the Ozark Mountains, is the little Victorian town of Eureka Springs. It's been a tourist destination for over a century, and it's home to an unusual resort. 7 platform houses provide the ultimate romantic couples retreat in the treetops. Contractor Terry Miller and his artist wife Patsy came here in 1990 with dreams of opening a bed and breakfast.
We're a mom and pop operation. We've done everything you've seen. We build it up from scratch.
But building on the 33-acre lot was difficult.
Half of the acreage is like this, and the other half is like that, you know. And they are steep angled here, and it's mountainous in here.
Traditional foundations would take too much time and money, so Terry came up with Plan B.
Well, I used to build homes in the Florida Keys with my dad, and they're all up on big stilts, so the hurricanes don't blow the houses over. So when we were building our cottages here, well, we'll put them up on 4 big wooden poles, actually 5, and we'll call them tree houses.
The platform cottages welcome lovers from all over the world. Each has a bedroom, a full kitchen, breakfast nook, and a roaring fireplace.
Our treehouse cottages are for 2. They're romantic, and they range from 20 to 25 feet up off the ground. Beautiful views.
Our cottages are for the romantic couple that just want to get away in the seclusion, reconnect with one another. There's just a lot of fun things about being out here in a tree house.
Terry designed and built all the cottages himself. And navigating this steep slope was his first hurdle.
It's a 45-degree angle. And then to try to lay out a square building when you're on an angle like that and you're in the woods, it takes a little bit of doing.
He had to get it right, because the higher the build, the higher the stakes. Terry and Patsy Miller came to the tiny town of Eureka Springs in Arkansas's Ozark Mountains to fulfill their dream of running a bed and breakfast. But they ended up with 8 individual custom-designed platform houses instead. Each one is designed for the ultimate romantic retreat.
Each treehouse took about 18 weeks to build, and that was 4 of us working on it.
They're all more than 24 feet off the ground and held up by 5 sturdy telephone poles.
After we figure out where we want to locate a treehouse, then we start with the frame. We do all our measurements, make sure the building's going to fit in amongst the trees. Then we dig our 5 pier holes, and we pour approximately half a yard to a yard of concrete in each hole. Now, these are heavy-duty utility poles that we buy. That's the closest thing we can get to actually building in a tree.
Once the posts were in place, they built a temporary work platform to hold their materials and gear.
This one's about 22 feet off the ground, so if you drop your hammer, I'll be back in about 2-3 minutes. You know, you just don't bend over and get it. We thought about tying our hammers with a string, you know, but that didn't work.
Unlike a house on the ground, a platform house loses heat through the floor. So they insulated the underbelly, which also protects the plumbing from freezing.
With each tree house, we would learn a little bit better building technique than the one before, and so finally when we finished our 8th one, we had it down pretty good.
Inside, Terry and Patsy created unique styles for each cottage.
When we build the cottages, we like to have our own personal touch. All of our tree houses have a different color scheme.
They're not cookie cutter. We mill and trim all the cedar out ourselves, and we make all our own trim. We make the doors ourselves, we make the cabinets and the kitchens ourselves. We do all our own tile.
But platform houses have limitations, so not everything is as authentic as it looks.
Because of a weight constraint in tree houses, we use manufactured stone. But just to throw a little curve in there, what we do is we'll put one real stone in there. And if you can tell me where the one real stone is, I'll buy you a barbecue across the street.
Skylights are in every cottage above the bed.
Why? Not necessarily to let the light in, but so that as they're laying in bed, they can look out and either see the stars or the moon. Very romantic. We even had one couple complain about it because the moon was so bright they couldn't sleep.
This cottage even comes with a heart-shaped hot tub.
When you're sitting in the jacuzzi and you're 20-something feet off the ground, you got glass all around you, and you're just looking out into the woods. You're taking a bath in the woods.
But putting in the heart-shaped tub was a heart-pounding experience.
As we're putting the tub in the spot here, my plumber buddy and I fell out the window, and he thought I was gone. And I poked my head back up, and I'm laughing, and he's actually white. He was scared to death. He didn't want to look over and see me down in pieces down there.
The only spot with a better view than the hot tub is the deck.
This is why the folks come to stay in a tree house. I mean, we're about 22 feet up in the air right here, and this is the woods. This is what people like. Trees and plenty of them. Oh, by the way, I don't hear anything, do you? Peace and quiet.
Patsy makes her own creative contribution to the decor.
This is my workshop where I make the pottery for the dishes in the tree houses. And that's my wheel over there. And this is where it all happens. I painstakingly made 600 tile for this one, but it was a labor of love. I just love that idea. I'm the decorator and he's the builder.
The couple spent years building these tree houses, but for them and the guests who stay here, they're the perfect ultimate escape.
We love what we do. I think the biggest thing is giving people a place to reconnect, to get away from the big city, to really enjoy each other. It's just such a fulfilling feeling. We've had a lot of people write in our guest books how it saved their marriage, and it's just it's pretty special.
And that's cool. That's cool when you can chase somebody's life like that. It really is.
In Northern California, on the Monterey Peninsula just south of Pebble Beach, is the quaint city of Carmel by the Sea, where Clint Eastwood was once mayor. Filled with rare imports from India and the Middle East, this is one of the area's most exotic escapes.
It's one of the most beautiful places on earth. If you love nature, you're within minutes of the mountains, fabulous hiking and camping and fishing. The land here is phenomenal.
It's the perfect place for this $7 million, 8,500 square foot ornate Indian palace with 6 bedrooms, 7 fireplaces, and 7 bathrooms. Art dealer Peterson Conway VII built this massive seaside escape so his family would always have a place to get away from it all.
I used to come here with my kids when they were 5 and 7 and cut Christmas trees here. I knew exactly the land here and I loved it. To make a long story short, I ended up making an offer on this.
Peterson successfully bought the secluded land on top of a peak overlooking the ocean and named it Jack's Peak, after his grandfather. He knew this would make the perfect place to build his dream getaway.
I was born and raised in Virginia, went to school locally here in Carmel, and left and went to Paris, did my higher education there. But I think my true education came from traveling.
Peterson traveled the globe, collecting precious artifacts everywhere he went. When he returned in 1995, he bought 23 acres in the Carmel Hills, and over the next 20 years, built this enormous masterpiece to showcase his collection.
This home, I want to share. I love it when people enjoy it. I love it when people come and they say, oh my God, the photos don't hold up to this house. It's much more magnificent than any photos.
Before Peterson's first strike of the shovel, he lived on the property for 6 months, in a teepee.
I had to sleep on the property 100 nights before I knew where the light shadows were for me to place my windows. I would mark with tape where the shadows were at certain times of the day. I said, well, you know, I'm only going to do this one time. One time in my life, I don't have to compromise.
To get the floating on a mountaintop feel he wanted, Peterson sketched plans with high ceilings and massive windows and sent them to the architect.
The building department said, fire your draftsman. It's the worst draftsman we've ever seen. So I said, I will talk to him and see that he's fired immediately. So I was out of job.
Even with a new draftsman, Peterson's plans were a long shot. But he wouldn't settle.
Well, I want the views. I want to live as though I'm living outside. I want all of this to be glass behind me.
Eventually, he got what he paid for. But windows this big needed expansive ceilings. And that couldn't happen without a rock-solid foundation. In the hills of Carmel, California, this Carmel estate is a permanent passport to the mysterious Middle East, where opening the door is like boarding a first-class flight to Mumbai. Peterson Conway VII built his Zen palace to showcase the art he collected from his worldly travels. He wanted sunlight to stream in through the windows and illuminate his artifacts. But large windows need even larger supports.
There's a trench that goes 20 feet to each side of the house. It's 3 feet wide, 6 feet deep. It's got a ton of steel in it, enough steel to build a railroad track to Chicago.
The ceilings are supported by glue lambs, huge 1,200-pound glued and laminated beams that, pound for pound, are stronger than steel. Reinforced concrete columns tie them straight into the foundation.
The glue lambs are all supported on this steel structure to keep the house from flexing. So that's where most of the meat and muscle of the home is. So it's built solid. You want to be here in case there's an earthquake.
A solid structure also protects all the priceless treasures in the home.
I've got pieces that I collected when I was 18 years old. I didn't know they were going to go into this house. They were pieces I cherished, so I found a place for them. Many of the wood carvings are better than the pieces in museums.
Peterson fell in love with India's ornate, hefty doors. So he made one of his very own with authentic pieces from the region.
Check out the door. It weighs a ton. I mean, that's a real knocker. Listen to this, how it closes. I love that. The hinges are 400 years old, as is the door, all hand carved. I had to actually make the tools to make the patina and the gouges in the doors. You see how it's all worn like that? We had to replicate something that was 600 years old because the doors generally in that part of the world are only that tall. It won't work. This pillar I had to cut in half to match here because of the height of it. All of the intricate carving is pretty fascinating. This is the jewel of the lotus to protect you when you go through the threshold.
The living room is a lush Tibetan hunting den with a fireplace that Peterson chiseled with his own 2 hands.
The fireplace was a tremendous labor of love. I made this tool out of steel to create this molding to carve, and then I just chiseled with a small chisel. It's a labor-intensive thing with a chisel and toot, and you just pretended like you were Michelangelo. I was the cheapest man on the job, so I was the one to do it. But I got some great forearms from it there.
Peterson wanted a floating ceiling in the combination family dining room, but it proved much harder than he thought. But as the saying goes, if at first you don't succeed, try again. But 13 tries later, they still couldn't get it right.
We built it, we mocked it up, we said no, we attached it to the ceiling, it didn't look right, it looked heavy. And finally, we used it to hide all of our conduits, plumbing, lighting, and lighting is so crucial to artifacts. So all of this took more time than you can imagine some of the heavy building. We built it 14 times to get it the way we wanted it.
The master suite spans 2 floors and has spectacular views of the surrounding gardens. There are 4 rooms, including a drawing room and an office. But how to get 2 7-ton staircases in that together weighed as much as an adult African elephant?
We had to get the biggest crane in the county. And when you've got 7 tons up in the air like that and it's moving and you're trying to stop it and you're on an extension ladder, it's frightening.
There was no shortage of attention to detail and design when it came to the home's interior. But there's another area that was even more important to Peterson.
The man hours, labor, and investment and everything, most of it's outside of the house.
He wanted the perfect landscape right outside his door, but the house sits directly on bedrock. So he had to haul in more than 300 truckloads of topsoil before he could plant the first seed. He's got the perfect patio to cook and entertain on cool Carmel nights.
The pizza oven is where we cook. Actually, the pieces are from Fatehpur Sikri, Central India, again 400 years old, but inside is a legitimate Italian pizza oven. So we can cook for 175 people in that pizza oven.
It's a labor of love that took him 20 years and more than $7 million to build. When he finished, he realized his exotic escape was too special to keep for just his family. He started making his masterpiece available to visitors who want to be transported to another time and place.
When you have a home like this, you need to share it. This home has to do some true good.
Ultimately, he'll pass all of this on to his son to appreciate for generations to come.
It's a way for me to show my incredible love for foreign cultures. We'd like to be able to look back and say, well, you know, I think we did something that made a difference there.
Owning the keys to your secret getaway is a dream come true. Some keep the secret to themselves, and others are willing to share their ultimate escape. Either way, a hidden place to get away from it all makes any vacation feel like the adventure of a lifetime.